PR Connections Radio presents. This podcast is brought to you by LifeWave. Ready to elevate your wellness game? Meet X39 from LifeWave.com. This game-changing patch uses phototherapy to stimulate your skin, enhancing strength and stamina by channeling your body's innate energy. Simply apply it to harness infrared heat, naturally boosting your vitality. Want to learn more? Visit www.lifewave.com/VernD and step into a healthier, more active lifestyle today.
Welcome to Breaking the Silence Beyond the Boundaries, where bold voices rise and all limitations fall. So I'm your host, Gail Larson, and today we're exploring what happens when the story we've lived no longer fits the person that you're becoming. So for many people, identity is closely tied to career. It's also tied to your titles, your routines that you go through every day, and the roles that we played for just years. But what happens when life invites us into something new, something unexpected, something more aligned with who we truly are? So my guest today is Donna Rodner, and she is a speech pathologist, and she understands this journey very well. After more than 2 decades as an educator, Donna stepped into this entirely new chapter, one that led her into entrepreneurship, travel, and helping others to shine through her work in the jewelry industry. So today we'll explore what it means to embrace change, redefine your personal narratives, and confidently step into the story that you're ready to own. So Donna, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Gail. Happy to be here.
I am so glad that you decided to join the show today, because I remember when I first asked you when we were at the Nevada Retired Teachers Association, you were a little hesitant, but you decided, and I'm glad that you're here. And during that time, you mentioned something about your story and that you were ready to talk about it right now. Can you take us into that?
Yeah, I suppose it's more of like my journey. Starting back when I was growing up, I knew I always wanted to be a teacher. That was my plan. And the closer I got to college, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher of the deaf. So I ended up going to college, getting my teaching degree. Unfortunately, the university that I went to dropped my student teaching plans for a deaf school that I was going to. So consequently, my degree ended up being in elementary education, and I never got to actually teach the deaf because I didn't student teach in it, which was fine. I absolutely loved what I did. I was a first and second grade teacher for a very long time, 24 years, did that. And during that time, raised kids, was married, raised kids, and kids are grown, kids are out of the house, life circumstances, and I was offered a job selling high-end designer jewelry. I had done it like part-time on my weekends and here and there just to give me something to do. Kids are all grown, so they don't need you watching out for them anymore. So I would do it on weekends, and one of the designers asked me if I would come and work for him full-time, which I did. And that started a really fun chapter in my life. For 5 years, I literally traveled all over the United States, a lot, probably 40 plus weekends a year.
Wow.
And yeah, long time. I was able to do some international travel during that time with it. The Hong Kong Jewelry Show is an amazing place to go to. You'll see everything there. So it was fun. I worked with a lot of international people from all over the world, which I had never been exposed to. So that was different, fun, exciting. But after about 5 years, I knew that, yeah, it's great for temporary, but wasn't really the right fit. I've always loved kids. I've always loved working with kids. It's truly been my passion. So during that time, just take a little sidebar here. During that time, I had moved from Illinois to California and then to Las Vegas. And being in Las Vegas, one of my weekends off of traveling, happened to read in the newspaper that they were looking for speech pathologists. And they talked about the program and they were having a meeting about it. So I decided to go check it out and enrolled. So yeah, so I enrolled. And so while I was doing all that traveling with the jewelry, I was going to school at night. So I would go to the school, go to classes in the evening, get home, catch a red eye on the Thursday night, fly to whatever city I was going to, get there in the morning, hop on my rental car, get to the hotel, shower, change, and go to work for the weekend. So
That's incredible. Doing all of that at the same time.
yeah,
Wow.
I did. And so it just for 2 years, did it for 2 years and study on the plane, review my notes, did all that. And finally then at the time for graduation, and which was awesome, and quit the jewelry. This is the funny part. So I went for my interview to be hired as a speech pathologist for the school district. During that interview, um, she told me, well, I only have one position available in my area, and it would be working with the deaf and hard of hearing. I said,
Full
I'll take
circle.
it. I'll take it. And she said, oh, no. You can think about it. I said, oh, no. I'll take it. And she said, no. You really, you can take time. Think about it. You don't have to decide today. I said, no, I'm going to tell you, I'll take it. So
Wow, that's incredible. And that's what you always wanted.
that's what I always wanted. And so I feel like, wow, this journey that I never expected or anticipated ever in my life brought me full circle. And so then I became a speech therapist in, Las Vegas School District, primarily working with the deaf and hard of hearing, and did that for 16 years before I recently retired. So,
Wow. What an incredible career. And you experienced so many changes, even from the very beginning. Because I'm thinking back to your story where you first started teaching and spent a majority of your time teaching first and second grade. And I don't know, for me, I started out in kindergarten. That's where I did my student teaching. And then I went into teaching first, second, third. I just started to move up. But what I noticed that, my identity in those primary grades even changed when I became a middle school teacher. Because a lot of times, I don't know if you ever experienced this, but when you were a first grade teacher, sometimes when they would say teacher, they would by accident, they say mommy, because they saw you, like
yeah.
that figure, their mother figure. And so when I was teaching as well, the primary grades, my kids were around that same age.
Yes.
So, the identity was very similar in my professional life as it was in my home life. So when you decided you were going to become the world traveler, going from city to city, state to state, and internationally, did you feel that identity change going from teacher, mommy to, yeah, I'm a jewelry salesperson?
You
How did
know,
that?
it's a really good question. Hadn't really thought about that. It did. And I think because I loved teaching. I loved it with everything that I am. I loved it. I loved my kids, my parents. Um, it truly was a passion. Children are my passion. And I think they felt that too. So we had this bond, my kids got hugs every day when they came to school and before they left. And so I loved that. When that ended, it was really hard. It was really hard. I missed reading the kids' stories. I missed them sitting
yeah.
at my feet, listening to stories. I missed the hugs. I missed the just showing them the way and watching them grow and develop. And I missed that. So yeah, my identity did change. And it was hard because not only did I change careers, but I also changed where I lived. I changed literally everything about my life changed in that one summer. And it was hard. It was hard. It was
Oh,
really hard.
absolutely.
There's a lot of tears.
And as an educator, we were very clear about our purpose. Our purpose was to, make sure we were, giving what we needed to give to those students to make sure that they grew and they, became the best that they could be. But when your identity changes, when you move into that new profession, your purpose changed too. I mean, I don't know if that affected how you did your job or how you felt about yourself, because that purpose to sell jewelry, which is wonderful,
Yeah.
and being in education, how did that change you?
Um, at first I didn't give it much thought because it was new, it was exciting. I traveled and did this, and I didn't really have a lot of downtime to think about the changes that I had made. Because it happened kind of fast, actually, now that I think about it. So I didn't really give it a lot of thought. Um, but then as time went by, I loved the jeweler that I worked for. It was one of a kind, designer, handmade piece. I mean, it was just absolutely spectacular. And I was good at selling it because I loved being able to wear it and try it on and show people. And so that part was good. And I always try to do the best I could wherever I was. But after a time, to be honest, it started feeling shallow to me.
Ah,
And I wasn't doing what I was meant to do. And I've always believed I was good at being a teacher. I was really good at it. And I felt a responsibility to any child to do what I could and do. Does that make sense?
well, yeah, I can understand how it's hard to let go of that part of you because you
Yeah,
always wanted to be a teacher. It was,
right.
similar to my experience. My mother was a teacher,
Yeah.
and I always wanted to be a teacher. That was the only environment that I knew. So, when I changed my role to go into publishing as well, it felt different. And what I
Mhm.
also noticed is that um, people also saw me differently as well. I don't know if your interaction with your family and your kids, they saw you differently or they interacted with you differently than what they had always known, was what you were.
Yeah. Um, I don't think at the time anybody really interacted differently family wise, because I ended up getting my sister involved in the jewelry with the sister company of who I was working with. So she got to do a lot of traveling with me. So we would meet up, and some of the shows would take me to cities and states where I had family living. And so I would get to see them more than I would have any other time. So that helped. Plus, my kids were adults living their own lives. And
Yeah.
so that's different too. So I don't feel like at least from my perspective, I didn't feel like anybody saw me differently. Um, yeah, I didn't feel that. I didn't think about it. I didn't feel it. It was more me, myself, how I saw myself. And so I'll tell you a little side story here.
Okay.
Gosh, probably maybe 6, 8 years before I quit teaching. My girlfriend and I, on a whim, decided to go to this psychic fair and see a psychic just on a whim. Let's, something to do on a Saturday.
No
Never done.
judgment. No judgment.
Yeah. So we did, and this psychic told me that I'm going to have a job change. They see me in a different career. I literally sat down and told my girlfriend, I said, there's nothing else I can do. What other career could I possibly do? All I know is teaching. That's all I've ever done. They're quacks. No way. I don't believe it. So I just blew it off. And it was maybe after I had quit teaching and then done the jewelry and then gone back to become a speech therapist. This girlfriend says to me, do you remember when we went to that psychic fair and that psychic told you were going to have another career? And I said, oh my gosh, I do remember that. So that's
That,
kind of just a funny story. Yeah. I don't know what else I can do.
yeah,
But
you just never know. You never
you
know.
don't know.
And the thing that I talk about the most is the fact that we have to be open to change. We get so set in our ways and we determine, or other people determine, this is who you are, so why would you change? Everything's, don't fix it if it ain't broke, is what they say. So, but there were always, I'm sure, positives that came about from you going from teaching to this phenomenal jewelry salesperson, because there's a whole different thing about entrepreneurship. I mean, it's not like necessarily that same paycheck that comes in every week or every
No,
month. This,
not at all. Nothing like that. Yeah.
So just going from that to entrepreneurship and then going back, I'm sure just your voice changed, like in the same way that you help people within being a speech pathologist. This experience, how did that change how you spoke?
It gave me more confidence for sure. Um, by doing that, it's like, wow, I can do something else. I know I'm already good at teaching and I love it. Now I can actually be good at doing something completely different, not even related at all, which then gave me confidence to then carry it further and say, you can do this. Well, because now I'm a totally independent woman. I don't have support of financial support. It's all on me. I have to work it all out and make all of my choices myself. And that's a scary thing when you're used to having a partner that you make choices with and you make decisions with. And now all of a sudden you're doing it 100%. That was scary. And there were times that, I had to take a step back and say, oh, let's see, what am I going to do to work this out or work that out? But it was a good experience. And I think people need experiences like that because it's a challenge. And if you meet that challenge head on, it tells you something about yourself you never knew. You can do hard things.
That is absolutely right. And, as a former educator myself and moving on to different, careers as being in publishing, and then now for the third transition, because I retired just like you.
Yeah.
It's about changing identity yet again. But you followed your passion. You knew that you wanted to get back into speech pathology, and hey, there you are now. What
Yeah.
has been like the one of the greatest accomplishments you've had within your current speech pathology experience? I mean, I know you're still in it, but something that you really resonates with you.
As far as like the kids go, or
The
you
kids
know,
or
well, there were a couple of situations that happened that I felt proud of myself that I caught something with a child that the parent never would have known about, ended up needing medical care that, and now that all got resolved. I loved being a part of that, and the catalyst for that. So that was huge. Um, Especially when you're working with, I primarily worked with 3, 4, and 5 year olds, all 3, 4, and
wow.
5 year olds, little bitty kids. And it wasn't all deaf and hard of hearing. There were, other disabilities. Some were just as simple as a speech problem. They couldn't articulate. Other problems were more language related. And um, it was a whole nother side to education. I was a classroom teacher, but then becoming a speech pathologist, I was able to use all my tools that I had that I used teaching, but then I gained more tools, and it just broadened me, and I learned so much from it, and I loved learning new things about it and new ways to deal with that. So I think, again, a growing experience that I never would have expected. Not to mention all the friends I got out of
Oh,
it.
absolutely.
New friends, new people. It's, oh my gosh. When I moved to Las Vegas, I didn't know anybody. I
Yeah.
only moved here because my stepdad said, because I wanted to buy a house and I was living in California. And he says, I've been reading about Las Vegas. You should think about moving there. I'm like, well, I've done a lot of jewelry shows there and I liked it. So I got a hold of a realtor. She picked me up at the airport, found a house. 3 months later, I moved.
Wow.
And just like that, best thing I ever did.
It's
Change.
like, go ahead. It's like we're sisters from another mother because it was all,
Sure.
our journey has been just so parallel. It was the same thing. Like, I said, if I ever want to buy a house, I can do it here in Vegas
Yes.
because, and neither one of us have to finish that sentence,
Right.
the economy there compared to the economy here. But that was one of the main reasons why I moved as well. So just in dealing with those changes, what I hear you saying is that it really made you more confident, it made you stronger, made you far more independent as well. So that's always a good thing.
It
So
is a good thing because I was always the person that didn't really speak up for myself. If I wasn't happy with how things are going, typically I would just say, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. But now I don't do that anymore. Now, if there's something, I'm going to, meet that problem head on, and I'm going to deal with it and figure it out and hope for the best, I guess.
So going back to the changes as well, since you started out in education and you had done that for 20 years and then gone to jury, to sell and then came back in education, you had to have noticed how even education has changed and how the identification of students with special needs has changed. I'm bringing that up too because, I have grandkids right now who are in the system and, dealing with my daughter and those same kinds of things and how kids may or may not be identified there. What struck you the most in terms of the changes between 20 years ago and now and, students with special needs and maybe the process and so forth?
Yeah. So kids with special needs, at least in Las Vegas, we have such a wonderful program for children, excuse me, um, early education, like before they're 3 years old. There's a path for parents to go to. And then we have Child Find, which starts at 3 years old. And if you have a concern about your child, you bring them to Child Find. We would test them. If we found that there were any sort of delays at all, they could enroll in a program free, coming to school 5 days a week, 3 days a week, 2 days, whatever they
Mhm.
needed. I love that. I love the early intervention that I've seen change over those 20
Right.
years.
Yeah.
It's a real positive. On the flip side, general education, I think, has gone downhill.
Yes.
I, and which is one of the reasons, not the determining, but one thing when I left teaching, it just didn't match my philosophies anymore. I just didn't like the direction that they were going with teachers. Nobody asked teachers, what do you want? What do you think best for the kids? You have people that were on the school board making decisions for teachers and children that worked in businesses. School is not a
Yes.
business.
That's exactly
And
right.
and when I was teaching before all these changes came, I knew what my kids needed. The kids would come into school, and if somebody found a salamander outside on the playground and they came in and they wanted to talk about it, you could like instantly start your day out with this little science lesson about
Right.
salamanders.
Yes.
And now you can't do that. I used to have a musical play with my class all the time, first graders and second graders. They memorized all their parts. They made their scenery. They made their costumes. They had to memorize songs and then perform it to the school and parents. Talk about a learning experience. And it was
Right.
always, a familiar story. So they had to read, they had to write, they had to communicate, they had to work together. So many skills. Now you can't do that in the classroom. Now every teacher has to teach the same thing on the same day at the same
Yep.
time using the same words. That
Yep.
is not teaching. That's a
Yep.
robot. AI can come in and do that. It's horrible. Kids they're missing out. They're just missing out, and it's really sad.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
a negative
disheartening.
change. Special needs, yeah, that's great. I see an improvement with the early intervention. Gen Ed, sad, disappointing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is unfortunate. And I've had similar experiences, when we had the freedom to do what we wanted to do. We tied it to the standards just like you did, but we had the freedom of creativity. I
Yes.
remember we did a whole trilogy of all of the Wizard of Oz movies, the original and then the Wiz and then all of those. And then the students had to, do the compare and contrast and analyze the characters and all of that. But these days, if every set of teachers at that grade level wasn't doing the same thing at the same time. So what I'm hearing too is that one of the reasons why you could go back into education with speech pathology because it was in alignment with what you believe.
Yeah. That true. Totally in alignment. Kids first.
That's
Kids
right.
first. That's number one. Nothing else matters. Kids have to be first. And I was
Absolutely.
able to do that. And that's probably why I continued to love it and did it as long as I could. So yeah, kids have to always come first.
Well, that's awesome. And I could just tell you're just glowing when you're talking about, doing what you're doing now with speech pathology, you just beam, so that's really what's most important.
Yeah,
So,
well, now we're in the retirement years, right? So now it's now a new chapter. So now here we are, a new chapter. I don't know what's next, but so far I'm loving it.
that's
So
right. And obviously, whatever changes that come in the future, you are ready because
yeah,
everything that you've gone through along your journey has just made you stronger. And that's truly, truly exciting. So one last thing before we go, have you ever had, if you could say something to someone who's dealing with their changing identity, what would you tell them?
I would say go forward, don't look back, and have no regrets, because whatever path you choose will be the right one for you. And if you need to take a little detour off of that, that's fine. Somebody asked me once, do you have any regrets, anything you've done? I said no, because right now, today, I am so happy. I wouldn't change anything. Even the things that I thought were hiccups at the time worked out. So go forward, stay the path, don't look back, and don't regret. That's my advice.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that is the best advice. Follow your passion. As long as you follow your passion and you're happy, then just let go and do it.
Take places that you don't even know exist. So it's all good.
So for all of our listeners out there, remember to ask yourself from time to time, have I outgrown the old version of myself? And as Donna also revealed to us today, growth sometimes means allowing yourself to be seen beyond those original roles or titles. So your story, allow it to evolve. And just remember, because you are evolving too. So don't be afraid of, who you're becoming. So this has been Breaking the Silence, and don't ever be afraid to go beyond the boundaries. Thank you, Donna.
Thanks.
We'll see everyone next time.
Bye.
Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. They can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success. PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.